You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Absolutely no doubt now, things in Ferguson and the rest of the country are going exactly as we predicted they would if this was indeed a psyop. Again, the police, the military that are out there getting shot at and attacked are not to blame in this because they're compartmentalized just like the public. This is a plan to demonize the First Amendment and to legitimize the globalization, federalization of the National Stability Police Force that the RAND Corporation has been promoting. And now we have a top general coming out on CNN last night calling for regular army on the streets all over the United States. So you have the police stand down under federal control when this starts and go after reporters instead months ago, and then they basically stand down again, and then you have to bring in even more force. And you've got these idiot agitators, and then you've got worse criminals and what I've called terrorists running around exacerbating the situation as pawns in the game. And one of our reporters, Sha'Carri Jackson, last night got threatened by a masked thug who says, I guess he watches and listens to the show, saying, I'll show you, terrorist. I said, see, that's a straw man. We're not saying demonstrators are terrorists. We're saying people shooting at firefighters, trying to put houses and churches out, like Mr. Brown's church that got burned down. When you, for pure fear and intimidation, shoot at people, 2 FBI agents have been shot, 2 cops have been shot, an innocent man was killed in his car, burned down a bunch of stuff. The people doing that are engaged in terrorism. It's a terroristic threat to come up and terrorize somebody and say, I'll show you, and menace them. Now, I'm the one that basically from day one began fighting the police state and fighting the globalization, the tyranny, the armored vehicles. But there's another end to that game. We can't be played off against the police into a civil war. And I just don't know if people are smart enough or sophisticated enough to understand this. To me, this is incredibly simple. If the American people can be played off against the police, the globalists win. And a lot of citizens are going to die. And a lot of police are going to die. And then when they're done setting up a national police force, it's already in place, but rolling it out, they're going to flip it onto gun owners and veterans, the real enemy of the globalists. By the way, 4 months ago on July 17th, U.S. Army training to fight black Americans, Doomsday Disneyland facility uses practice ground for civil unrest. Paul Joseph Watson with a special video emergency report I issued saying they're preparing for race war in America and for the media to stir up incidents to cause mass rioting. And the regular army, which now on CNN, in fact, I had it in the stack and I can't find it. Reprint me the headline, General calls for regular army on streets instead of trying to find it. Thank you. Is now saying that. So let me tell you who's to blame here. It's the National Security Council. It's the United Nations. It's President Obama. It's the people running NORTHCOM are trying to condition us to accept martial law in America. And I'm trying to stop black people being used as a scapegoat and stirred up to be the pawns in this. Now, if that's racist, And if not wanting blacks to abort half their babies is racist, then you better believe I'm hardcore racist. What I am is sick of a bunch of racist black people telling me I'm racist when I'm trying to help them. No guest today other than Jakari Jackson and, of course, Joe Biggs, who will be landing at about 2:45 and should be in studio with us in the last 30 minutes of the transmission. We went ahead and made the decision to pull him out of Ferguson because it's gotten too dangerous. And plus, now there's new demonstrations and riots breaking out, run by the Democratic Party all over the country. I carefully, last night and this morning, spent hours going in, and anybody can do this, and looking at the signs and photos and videos, and they'll have the group pushing it at the bottom, all of them communist, socialist, environmental terrorist linked groups, Democratic Party, George Soros, sock puppets. This is their attempt, when their whole agenda of open borders and socialism and world government is collapsing, to use the tragic death of a young black man to try to create race war in this country. By the way, it'd be easy for me to say that now, and you could just say that's my opinion. Infowars.com. July. Let me see. November, October. How many months ago was July? Counting back? 5 months ago? 4.5. U.S. Army training to fight black Americans is the headline. Doomsday Disneyland facility used as practice ground for civil unrest by regular Army. And Northcom for full deployment in the U.S., and every single role player is as black. Oh, they're blacker than Al Sharpton, blacker than Barack Obama, blacker than Jesse Jackson. And we warned you before this Ferguson situation was even on the radar screen, before the media picked it. There's a lot of examples of police shooting innocent black men and women. There are a lot of examples of them shooting Hispanics, whites, or other cops. I mean, there's bad cops out of there out of 2 million police. Or 1.5 million. But they picked one where the guy was a thug, the evidence is overwhelming. Where the cop told the truth, the evidence is overwhelming. So that they could make all the people that came out and protested look like fools, especially when they injected a bunch of provocateurs in there and had the media hype the whole thing. 3 dead and 15 wounded in weekend shootings in Chicago alone, almost every one of them black on black. But you're not going to see a bunch of people out there protesting and demonstrating that. You're not going to hear the black community that's controlled by the globalists clearly saying, hey, we don't like gangster rap and all these things that are preparing our young men for prison. But you will hear Infowars.com with the real Rick Ross and Professor Griff and KRS-One and countless others that actually want everybody to be successful and free in this country, not all of us being played off against each other. I saw a lot of comments on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com last night and this morning saying, how dare you, Alex Jones, side with the police? How dare you, not support the demonstrators? Let me explain something. Not because I care about criticism, but so you can get it straight in your mind and not be ignorant and not be fooled anymore. Because I'm all about exposing the rabbit trick. I'm all about exposing how this thing works. That's how we're going to be free, is discovering the scams and the frauds and not being a bunch of chumps. All I've called for is not having a civil war. All I've called for is not having a race war. I've predicted all of this. They're trying to do this. You could watch MSNBC every night and see the race baiting and see what they were doing. It's as clear as the nose on my face or your face. I am sick of when I'm against turning my guns in being called a racist, or I don't support Obamacare because it has death panels and increases everybody's rates and taxes poor people. I'm called a racist. And when I don't support people out there, quote, demonstrating because they're burning and shooting people, then I'm a racist again. Let me explain something. When people accuse me of that, I don't care, because I love you and want you to be successful and want you to win and don't want fluoride in your water to brain damage you and lower your IQ. And don't want you drinking high fructose corn syrup, and don't want your kids eating GMO that kills the honeybees that eat it. And I don't care what color you are. I don't think in those terms as a default. The Trayvon Martin thing had been going on. I'm going to get into all the latest news on Ferguson, but the way this affects InfoWars and myself is a microcosm of everything else, so I'm going to get into it right now. Trayvon Martin verdict had just come out. We have a huge black audience that listens to the show. We have a huge audience, period, no matter what color you are. And I had said the whole thing was a psyop, a setup with the Justice Department, and that clearly Zimmerman was an idiot, and he's been proven to be an idiot now, but that he was getting his head slammed in the ground, according to multiple witnesses, 2 of them black, and he feared for his life, so he shot Trayvon Martin. Was that a good thing? No, but you can get no billed by a grand jury, or you can get found not guilty by a jury when there's those circumstances. It means there's reasonable doubt. And suddenly I had a lot of my black